Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 76 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030, as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
So with the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. Yesterday was 6th November, is commemorated as International Day for Preventing the Exploitation of Environment in War and Armed Conflict. Though humanity has always counted its war casualties in terms of dead and wounded soldiers and civilians, destroyed cities and livelihoods, the environment has often reminded the unpublicized victim of war. Waterwells have been polluted, crops torched, forests cut down, soils poisoned, and animals killed to gain military advantage. Furthermore, the United Nations Environment Program has found over the last 60 years, at least 40% of all internal conflicts have been linked to the exploitation of natural resources, whether high-value resources such as timber, diamonds, gold, and oil, or scarce resources such as fertile land, water. Conflicts involving natural resources have been also found to be twice as likely to relapse. The United Nations attaches great significance to ensuring that action on the environment is part of conflict prevention, peacekeeping, and peace building strategies, because there can be no durable peace if the natural resources that sustain livelihoods and ecosystems are destroyed. On 5th November 2001, The UN General Assembly declared 6 November of each year as the International Day for preventing the exploitation of the environment in war and armed conflict through Resolution 56 by 4. On 27 May 2016, the United Nations Environment Assembly adopted Resolution 15, which recognized the role of healthy ecosystems and sustainably managed resources in reducing the risk of armed conflict and reaffirmed its strong commitment to the full implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals listed in General Assembly Resolution 70 by 1, entitled Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So, various partnerships, EU-UN Partnership on the Land and Natural Resource Conflict, 6 United Nations agencies and departments, UNEP, UNDP, UN Habitat, PBSO, DPA, and DISA, coordinated by the UN Framework Team for Preventive Action, has partnered with the European Union, EU, to help countries identify, prevent, and transform tensions over natural resource as part of a conflict prevention and peace building programs. The Environmental Law Institute, ELI, the United Nations Environment Program, and the Universities of Tokyo and McGill initiated a global research program to collect lessons and good practices on managing natural resources during post-conflict peace building. This 4-year research project has yielded more than 150 peer-reviewed case studies by over 230 scholars, practitioners, and decision makers from 55 countries. This represents the most significant collection to date of experiences, analyses, and lessons in managing natural resources to support post-conflict peace building. The United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and Empowerment of Women, UN Women, the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and the United Nations Peace Building Support Office, PBSO, have established a partnership to collaborate on improving the understanding of the complex relationship between women and natural resources in conflict affected settings and make the case for pursuing gender equality, women's empowerment, and sustainable natural resource management together in support of peace building. The first outcome of the collaboration is a joint policy report released on 6 November 2013. Saving future generations from the scourge of war was the main motivation for creating United Nations, whose founders lived through the devastation of 2 world wars. Since its creation, the UN has often been called upon to prevent dispute from escalating into war or to help restore peace following the outbreak of armed conflict and to promote lasting peace in societies emerging from wars. The United Nations Environment Program is the leading global environment authority that sets the global environmental agenda, promotes coherent implementation of the environmental dimension of sustainable development within the United Nations systems, and serve as an authoritative advocate for the global movement.
My name is Thomas Ritzer, and I work in the Policy Planning Unit of DPPA. The Secretary General of the United Nations has called climate change the defining issue of our time. Almost every day we're confronted with its growing and increasingly pervasive effects. Wildfires in Australia, cyclones in the Indian Ocean, droughts in the Sahel, floods in South Asia, or rising sea levels in the Pacific. It is increasingly clear that climate change is not only an environmental challenge. People are profoundly affected as lives are lost, livelihoods destroyed, and communities displaced. In some circumstances, climate change can even disrupt peace and security. It is no coincidence that the countries most vulnerable to climate change are often also those most vulnerable to conflict and fragility. Climate change does not directly cause conflict, but it compounds existing risk factors. For instance, it can intensify competition over natural resources, drive up food prices, and increase geopolitical tensions. In DPPA, sustaining peace and preventing conflict are at the heart of our mission. As climate change increasingly becomes a threat to peace, we are developing strategies to prevent the worst consequences. We cannot do this alone. Therefore, we have teamed up with the UN Development Programme and the UN Environment Programme to create the Climate Security Mechanism. Together, we're working to advance research, conduct risk assessments, and support our colleagues around the world to develop innovative solutions ranging from climate-informed mediation to conflict-sensitive adaptation. At the center of all our efforts are the needs of affected communities, including women and youth. In collaboration with partners from across the UN system, member states, civil society, and regional organizations, we are improving our collective capacity to understand and address the negative impacts of climate change on peace and security.
The Secretary General has asked all of us to be bold, be revolutionary, and disrupt, because without innovation, there is no way we can overcome the challenges of our times. Bold? Revolutionary? Innovation? At the UN? Fusty, musty, paper-pushing, caught in the 1950s UN? Do we even work for the same organization? But when you really think about all the things that were pioneered here and had never been done before, from the first session of the General Assembly, at which the very first female delegate spoke, to the first time blue helmets went in to observe a truce, to the first time a person of color got the Nobel Peace Prize. And you may not know this, but we've gotten the Nobel 10 times since. And let's not forget the first time we came together to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons, or committed to the advancement of women around the world and to say no to all forms of discrimination, and even helped to eradicate smallpox, or got 40 countries to curb greenhouse emissions. That one is still a work in progress. All this and so much more. And it's true, it hasn't been an easy road. Sometimes we've had to go through hell to get stuff done, but we're still here. And if we've done all these hard-to-do things, then with a little help, there's much more we can do. Like observing Earth from space to predict where future water conflicts might happen, or using AI to talk to 1,000 people simultaneously to hear voices in conflict zones that we used to have no way of reaching, or giving people a feel for what it's like to be on the ground so they're better prepared to make decisions. But to do all of this, we need you, because without your knowledge and your skills, we are nothing. Our work is about people. And so, when you really think about it, with a little humility and patience, maybe we really can be bold and revolutionary and disruptive. The question is, are you ready? Because what you believe matters.
The Champions of the Earth Award is the United Nations' highest environmental honor, and this year 5 of our laureates are recognized for their cutting-edge work to end plastic pollution.
We need to change the way that we design, use and reuse plastics.
If this can be shown to be successful in one city, then other cities can be inspired to replicate what we've done.
We're focusing on systemic change, so how to change the rule of the system before it's too late.
The problem of waste plastic pollution is global. There's no one solution. You need to have multiple approaches.
在每一个环节，我们应用可视化技术，能够确保我们的这个海洋输料的原料，保障在每一个环节能够被追溯。
Recycling isn't a get-out-of-jail-free card. We simply have to step up at every level of the life cycle. Congratulations to these extraordinary individuals and organizations. Together, let us beat plastic pollution.
Yeah, today, we are also commemorating International Games Week. This week, from November 7th to 13th, is designated for every second week of November. So when communities worldwide can connect their libraries through various types of games, libraries have evolved over the years as a repository of knowledge and information. From brick and mortar to living on the World Wide Web, games played during this period range from trivia games and tabletop games, Dungeons and Dragons to board games, chess and video games, Call of Duty and so on. So the history of International Games Week is the history of libraries since the event is held yearly in them. The library has constantly changed over millennia, from antiquity and Renaissance to the Enlightenment era and modern public libraries. The first libraries were discovered in Southwest Asia's Fertile Crescent around 3000 BC. Considered the birthplace of writing, these libraries had bookshelves of wooden boxes, woven reed baskets or clay shelves that held clay tablets or papyrus. Similar libraries were found in ancient Egypt, Persia, and Nineveh, the most incredible library of that time, and was a great library of Alexandria in Egypt. It was constructed in the 3rd century and served as a significant center of scholarship for the ancient world before the Roman conquest in 30 BC. So libraries thrived during the Greco-Roman period. They served to demonstrate status and were owned by wealthy patrons such as merchants, senators, and military men. An example is the Library of Celsus in Ephesus, Anatolia, which was built to honor Roman senator Tiberius Julius Celsus Ptolemaios. There was also an increase in public and private libraries during this period. with the later featuring bookshelves of citrus wood inlaid with ivory. The Renaissance saw libraries as a center for academic study and the congregation of place of scholars, learn, and enlighten individuals. The major Renaissance libraries include the Malatestiana Library in Venice, Biblioteca Corvinia in Hungary, and Tiananmen Chamber in China. The Enlightenment era can be described as the golden era of libraries, with the rise of subscription libraries, book clubs, and national libraries in Britain and Europe. With the 19th century came laws and policies that enabled libraries to thrive across the United Kingdom. Although some were lost to German bombings, in 1833, the US saw the opening of its first tax-supported public library in Peterborough. New Hampshire legislations and founding of the Carnegie Library Endowment led to 75 to 80% of the libraries across the United States. The 19th century also saw the founding of the American School Library, the American Library, and the African American Literary Societies. In the 21st century, libraries became digital as books also transformed from paperback to ebooks and audiobooks. That made it easier for people to access information and knowledge, even in areas without libraries, but they negatively impacted the number of people using library services. As people, they don't have to visit libraries to access books. This is one of the reasons why the American Library Association collaborated with national library associations in other countries to introduce International Games Week to reconnect people with libraries in their communities. The first libraries are found in Fertile Crescent, Southwest Asia in 3000 BC. The Library of Alexandria in Egypt, built during the reign of Ptolemy, is the largest library of the ancient world and a center of scholarship in 3rd century BC. So the extent of Andrew Carnegie's magnanimity, Andrew Carnegie's contribution leads to the creation of 75 to 80% of the libraries across the United States. The rise of digital libraries began offering access to digital services, including internet skills and access, and some operate entirely online in 21st century. So the libraries of Ashurbanipal, built in 7th century BC in modern-day Iraq, is the oldest and largest library with about 30,000 cuneiform tablets in the West. In India, we have, the oldest libraries in the world, which have been destroyed by the invaders. These Muslim, Christian, and all other, kingdoms are those who have invaded and attacked not only the nation, but also the culture of the nation. We have seen many universities like Takshashila, Nalanda, where the remnants of universities and libraries have been destroyed with the invasions. Otherwise, we could have had the world's largest knowledge base and largest libraries with so many books and with knowledge and wisdom for the entire humankind. India ranks number 1 as a country that reads the most, with a reading time of 10 hours and 42 minutes per week. So most adults can read about 200 to 250 minutes per minute. Several libraries across the country always participate yearly in the International Games Week, and it's an initiative of American Library Association. And you can check with your public library to see if they are involved, or research online to see the list of participating libraries. Suppose the public library in your community is not aware of International Games Week, in that case, you can get them involved by organizing the gaming event for them, especially if they don't have the resources. Get the library to allocate a space where the event will take place throughout the week. It doesn't necessarily have to be in library itself. You can also use the library compo. You will then also need to source games for the people to play. This can be done through donations. Promote the event through print media and social media and have a blast when the key week finally arrives. So you can play your part by sharing this news about the International Games Week, especially if your public library is participating. Also use this opportunity to share interesting information about libraries to get more people educated on why libraries are essential in their communities. The Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. is the biggest in the world when it comes to catalog depth with 170 million items. Many libraries in the US are part of Freegal, a service that offers patrons access to over 15 million tracks. They offer free music catalogs. Paranormal romance genre is allowed in prison. Books in the paranormal romance genre are among the most read in US prisons. The Haskell Free Library and Opera House, Vermont, is a library located at the border between the United States and Canada. Many libraries in the United States offer passport application services in addition to the traditional library services. This week is entirely dedicated to games and nothing more than games. Though they have to be played in or around libraries, there are no restrictions to the sort of games that can be played during the International Games Week. It could be video games on a library console, party games, board games, traditional folk games, or tabletop games, but no drinking games are allowed. Statistics have shown that the public library usage has steadily declined over the years. Libraries are a repository of knowledge and culture. They offer essential resources needed to transform the society. They are also a vital part of community Sorry, there was urgent call. So today we are also commemorating National Book Award Week. This entire week, starting from today, November 7th to November 30th. It focuses on American future authors, books, and literature in general. The National Book Award is a set of annual literary awards in the United States. At the last ceremony of the annual National Book Award in November, the National Book Foundation presents the National Book Award and 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards to the authors. Books for the National Book Award are nominated by publishers. So it focuses on America's future authors, books, and literature in general. The National Book Award is a set of annual literacy awards in the United States. At the last ceremony of the annual National Book Award in November, the National Book Foundation presents the National Book Award and the 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards to the authors. Books for the National Book Award are nominated by publishers only, but participants in the discussion may require specific nominations from publishers. Right now, technology is trying to displace the print world and the number of readers is declining. However, Americans are still reading both digital and printed books. Indeed, absolute all writers and readers are waiting for the National Book Award week. Everyone wants to know who will dictate the fate of American literature. So the National Book Award was established in 1936 by the American Booksellers, ABA. In May 1936, the first National Book Awards were presented at the annual convention of the American Booksellers Association. A month after the New York Times reported the establishment of a new annual award, the winners were authors of 4 books from 1935, selected by a vote of ABA members. A novel, a biography, and general documentary literature were named the most outstanding of 1935. Another novel was awarded the most original. After being abandoned during World War II, it was then restored by 3 book industry organizations in 1950. Only during the pre-war era were authors outside the US eligible. for awards. They are now awarded through the American authors for published for about a year. Currently, the National Book Award is presented to one book author and annually in each of these 5 categories: fiction, documentary, poetry, translation, and youth literature. Before, there were awards in many other categories, but they were removed or included in the current 5. The National Book Foundation also awards 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards each year: the Medal for Outstanding Contribution to American Literature and the Literary Award for Outstanding Achievement to the American Literacy Community. Today is also commemorated as Election Day in US. So it is on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, taking place on November 7th this year. And this is the day we cast ballots to select public officials from local to national government. Presidential elections are held every 4 years, in years divisible by 4, while the elections to the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate are held every 2 years. Other state and local government elections can be held in any year that is designated by the state. So elections are the only thing that separates a democracy from a dictatorship, giving people the right to control their leaders and oust them without the need for a revolution. This day is a great way to show our appreciation for these rights that have been granted to us through the notion of democracy. The elections were chosen for the first US presidential election on January 7, 1789. The federal law permitted each state to choose presidential electors at any time within 34 days and send their electors to the Electoral College. As communications and transportations evolved, this became a problem since the states that voted earlier could influence states that voted later. To prevent this, Congress responded by mandating a uniform national date for choosing the electors. The first Tuesday, following by the first Monday, was chosen as election day for future presidents on January 23, 1845. This time was deemed suitable for elections as the harvest would have been over. Tuesday was convenient because voters could attend church on a Sunday and travel to their polling stations. On Monday, this allowed the farmers to vote before Wednesday, which was usually when farmers would sell their produce at the market. So on November 7th, 1848, the first election day took place. Whig Party candidate Zachary Taylor won out over Free Soil candidate and the former president Martin Van Buren and Democratic candidate Lewis Cass. Millard Fillmore, who was Taylor's running mate, because the nation's 13th president on July 10, 1850, upon Taylor's untimely death. So John F. Kennedy was 43 when he was elected to the office. Votes were often counted by raising hands or speaking out loud in 1700s and early 80s. Victoria Woodhull became the first woman to run for the president in 1872. In 1872, President Grant ran against a dead opponent, Horace Greeley, who died during the election process. Secret ballots started becoming common in 1890s election. Election is an integral part of any democracy. Without the election process, a democracy cannot function. As the citizens, we get chance to appoint people who steer affairs and make decisions on our behalf, decisions that would impact our lives and destinies. We enjoy plenty of rights in a democracy. Their rights are for our protection and well-being, but they go together with duties to ensure the protection of our rights. We need to perform certain duties, one of which is voting. We should constantly strive for perfection. We have faced many issues in the past as a society, and the only way we were able to fix them was when an unanimously demanded change. Voting is the best way to demand that change, so vote day is to ensure a better future. Today is also commemorated as Melbourne Cup Day in Australia. It is a state holiday and most schools and business shut down to let everybody take part. About 1 lakh people flock to Flemington, but the 3,200-meter turf race is television live to about 650 million people around the world. Cup Day, as it is popularly known, is the biggest horse racing event in Australia. Home to more race courses than any other country in the world, the day is part a week-long Melbourne Cup carnival of festivities and fashion. It was 1840 when the gold rush town of Melbourne decided to race horses down the banks of the river. There was a large flat area with a hill to the northwest for spectators. The next year, the organizers put up some scaffolding, but it was 1848 before there was a real grand start. The course became known as Melbourne Racecourse. The landowner named the area Flemington after property his wife owned in Scotland in 1850s. Everyone was calling the course Flemington Racecourse. It is the oldest racecourse in Australia. By 1855, horses from the South Wales, Tasmania, and New Zealand were competing in the Australian Championship sweepstakes. The event attracted 40,000 people and was the first Australian sporting event ever telegraphed in Sydney. At the point, Melbourne's racing power players conceived of an even bigger, more prestigious event that could bring in funds for developing the track. The Melbourne Cup made its debut in 1861. In those early days, there were two rival racing clubs, the Victoria Turf Club and the Victoria Jockey Club. With the two at loggerheads, management of the course of the Cup suffered. The track was sabotaged and both clubs were into debt. So they merged in 1864 to form the Victoria Racing Club. The governing body of Flemington today, the next year, the club was pleased to have Melbourne Cup Day declared a half-day holiday. One problem, though, was the Victoria Racing Club didn't own the land, they leased it. In 1871, the government passed the Victorian Racing Club Act, entrusting land ownership to the club. The Melbourne Cup was first run on Tuesday in 1875. 2 years later, Victoria made an official state holiday to accommodate the size and significance of the event. Today is also Notary Public Day in US. Was first observed in 1975 to recognize the service of notaries to national and international commerce. Notaries are trusted public officials who perform several critical tasks like the signing of the documents and the attestation of identity of signing parties. Notaries are an important part of the transatlantic commerce of colonization. Merchants dependent on them to be independent third parties reporting damages to the vessels or cargo in a notarial act called a marine protest. The contributions of notaries to colonialization are largely credited for the massive success of American business. Today is also commemorated as National Retinol Day. Retinol is a vitamin A derivative that aids in skin renewal and helps to reduce indications of aging, such as lines and wrinkles, sagging skin, and even uneven tone and texture. It's also one of the most thoroughly researched substances. Retinol is widely known as the anti-aging gold standard. Dermatologists frequently promote retinol and praise it for its skin transforming properties. Year after year, experts boost the efficiency of this famous skincare component. So today is also commemorated as National Programmatic Advertisement Day or Advertising Day. In September 2019, Adelphic, a Avant subscription-based self-service platform for cross-channel programmatic advertising, announced the first annual National Programmatic Advertising Day. Perhaps you are unsure of what programmatic advertising is. Programmatic advertising is essentially buying and selling internet display space using algorithmic software. It is a sophisticated technique to position advertising that leverages traffic data and online display targeting to create impressions at scale, resulting in a higher return or investment for marketers and exceptional outcomes. So, for both SMEs as well as large brands. So the website hotwire.com receives credit for kickstarting the digital advertising revolution. It debuted the world's first ad banner on October 27, 1994. AT&T purchased this banner space to the market, its latest technology, which was incredibly effective because the method proved so successful. Advertisers received numerous requests. As a result, the first ad service were established in 1996 to satisfy advertisers' insatiable urge to post banner ads online. However, between 1998 and 2000, the first ad networks began to appear. Meanwhile, as the ad market became more saturated, interactive banners joined the race in 2004. Bringing Flash and JavaScript and video ads to the mix. Finally, in 2007, the advertising business took on the form to now known so well. The development of ad exchanges allowed for the automation of ad sales and purchases. Major ad exchange business pioneered the concept of programmatic between 2007 and 2010, resulting in the growth of DSP, SSP, and other RTB-based technologies. The media buying process has altered dramatically since 2010. Rich media and video commercials have virtually dominated the ad business. In 2016, the estimated amount spent on programmatic display ads was $20.41 million. The marketing world has changed dramatically over the last decade as new trends emerge and industry pioneers fade away. DoubleClick, purchased by Google in 2008, is one such example. Today is commemorated as National Hug a Bear Day in US. So you are not advised to go out and embrace real bears on this day. It will be exceedingly risky and might not end well. Hug a Bear Day was designated to raise awareness about the advantages of hugging. We all need hugs. Hugging can make us feel warm, comfortable, and most importantly, to our loved ones and your adorable teddy bears. The origin of National Hug a Bear Day are unknown, but the 1560s verb to hug was derived from the Old Norse term hugga, which means to soothe. The phrase is also said to be related to the German word hegen, which means to cherish, to enclose with a hug was the original meaning. The teddy bear plushie is also a part of National Hug a Bear Day. The ancient Egyptians are credited with the invention of soft toys. Although no stuffed toys have been discovered in Egypt, drawings on monuments imply they did have animal toys. Stuffed animals as we know them today were introduced in 1830. Although they were created by hand out of cloth and straw, in 1880, Germany began producing the stuffed animals that were very similar to the cute toys that we'll still buy today. In the early 20th century, the toy industry grew tremendously. Richard Steiff created a soft stuffed bear in 1903 that was unlike any other rag doll before it, being composed of fluffy, furry cloth. Morrison Mitchton, inspired by the drawing of President Teddy Roosevelt with a bear cub, produced the first teddy bear at the same time in United States. Today is also commemorated as National Canine Lymphoma Awareness Day. Lymphoma is one of the most common forms of canine cancer. And when our furry friends are suffering from this disease, it is good to know that there are resources out there to keep us informed. National Canine Lymphoma Awareness Day on November 7th is a great way to honor our dogs. So recognizing National Canine Lymphoma Awareness Day celebrated on November 7th is a good place to start. The day reminds us to stay vigilant and to check our dogs regularly so that we can potentially head off any problems before they arise. The archaeological record suggests that the dogs and humans were buried together about 14,700 years ago. Modern studies suggest that the modern dog diverged from its wolf ancestral line about 27,000 years ago. The first veterinary college was established in Lyon, France by Claude Bourgelat. The non-profit American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals is organized in New York City in 1866. Trainer Terry Simmons' dog Reveille battles canine lymphoma, inspiring Simmons to start clear canine lymphoma education, awareness, and research in 2011. So, which dogs are more prone to canine lymphoma? What are some of the symptoms? These are the answers to these questions, and in honor of this day, task yourselves and family members with researching them. Your pooch probably doesn't like the veterinarian, although he probably loves the car ride. But you owe it to your dog to schedule regular visits to vet to keep him in tip-top shape. There are plenty of wise old dogs out there, many of them suffering from various ailments that need a good, safe, and comfortable home to see out their remaining dogs. If you can please think of adopting a dog. So, some facts that you should know about canine lymphoma. Keep an eye out for the enlarged lymph nodes, lethargy, loss of appetite, weakness, or weight loss. There are more than 30 types of canine lymphoma. Lymphomas commonly affect the liver, spleen, and bone marrow. Canine lymphomas and human non-Hodgkin's lymphomas are almost indistinguishable under a microscope. So chemotherapy is the most effective therapy for canine lymphoma. Dogs are part of the family. They are not just our pets. In fact, many of us don't even like to call them that. Our dogs are members of family and as such deserve all love and attention we can give them. Making sure one dogs are healthy reminds us to do the same for ourselves and the rest of our families. Regular checkups and easy to do in-home examinations make for a happy and healthy life. We love our dogs and there is nothing we would do for them, but amazingly, the love we feel for them pales in comparison to how they feel about us. So we must make sure that we are worthy of their love. Today is also commemorated as National Cancer Awareness Day in India. This day highlights the significance of increased awareness about the cancer prevention and early detection for the general public. The Cancer Control Program was initiated in 1975 to provide cancer treatment facilities in the country. In India, nearly 1.1 million new cases are being reported annually. 2/3 of cancer cases are diagnosed at an advanced stage, reducing patients' chances of survival. Various programs have been initiated to increase research on the prevention and early detection of cancer. So National Cancer Awareness Day was first announced by the Indian Union Minister for the Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Harshvardhan, in September 2014, and the 7th November will be observed as National Career Awareness Day every year to generate awareness about early detection and avoid leading cancer-causing lifestyles. So Harshvardhan launched a state level of cancer control, encouraging early detection and research into curing cancer. National Cancer Awareness Day also encourages people to report to government hospitals, CGHS, and municipal clinics for free screening. Information booklets are also circulated to generate awareness on how to avoid getting cancer and to look for signs of early symptoms. In 1975, the National Career Control Program was initiated to provide cancer treatment facilities in India. The program was modified in 1984 to 85 to provide thrust to prevention and early detection of cancer. So National Cancer Awareness Day is observed on 7th November to coincide with the birth anniversary of the Nobel Prize winning scientist, Madame Curie. Born in Warsaw, Poland in 1867, Madame Curie is remembered for her discovery of radium and polonium and her huge contribution to fight against cancer. Her work led to the development of nuclear energy and radiotherapy for the treatment of cancer. In India, nearly 1.1 million cases are being reported annually. It is estimated that one woman dies of cervical cancer every 8 minutes in India. Tobacco, smoked and smokeless use account for 317,928 deaths in men and women in 2018. Cancers of the oral cavity and lungs account for over 25% of cancer deaths in male, and cancer of the breast and oral cavity account for 25% of cancers in females. Today, Dr. Harshvardhan advises that if detected early, cancer could be treated at a fraction of the cost that is incurred when diagnosed at an advanced stage. Its mortality rate is also lowered substantially if people report for screening when the earliest symptoms are manifested. So tobacco, smoked and smokeless use accounts for 317,928 deaths in men and women in India, which Indian Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Harshvardhan, says to avoid because smoking can lead to cancer. The importance of cancer awareness. National Cancer Awareness Day is the first announced by the Indian Union Minister for Health and Family Welfare by Dr. Harshvardhan. So the National Cancer Control Program is initiated to provide cancer treatment facilities in India. Marie Curie receives her second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, in recognition of her work in radioactivity. Marie Curie, a notable scientist remembered for her work leading to the development of nuclear energy and radiotherapy for the treatment of cancer, is born in Warsaw, Poland. Her birth date is remembered in India as a day of National Cancer Awareness Day. So in India has an estimated 1.16 million new cancer cases in 2018, according to a report by the World Health Organization, which said that 1 in 10 Indians will develop cancer during their lifetime and 1 in 15 will die of the disease. So the World Cancer Report said that according to the estimated cancer burden in India, in 2018, there are about 1.16 million new carrier cancer cases, 784,800 cancer deaths, and 2.26 million 5-year relevant cases in India population of 1.35 billion. Breast cancer awareness is an effort to raise awareness and reduce the stigma of breast cancer through education on symptoms and treatment. So early detection of cancer can be life-saving. Every year, make sure to book an appointment to get tested. Cancer screening and detection services are available in cities of Ahmedabad, Amritsar, Aurangabad, Bangalore, Bilal, Bhopal, Bhubaneswar, Chandigarh, Chennai, Dehradun, Delhi, NCR, Ernakulam, Guwahati, Hyderabad, Lucknow, Ludhiana, Indore, Jaipur, Jalandhar, Kannur, Kochi, Kolkata, Kolhapur, Kollam, Kottayam, Madurai, Mohali, Mumbai, Nagpur, Palakkad, Pathankot, Patna, Pondicherry, Pune, Sangli, Surat, Tirunelveli, Tiruchi, and Vellore, and many more places. So, National Cancer Awareness Day is all about informing those you love about the prevention of cancer. Look online or give an information booklet to generate awareness on how to avoid getting cancer and how to look for the signs of early symptoms. So, National Cancer Awareness Day is observed on November 7th each year in remembrance of Marie Curie's birth. The scientist was born in 1867 and is noted for her brilliant work leading to the development of nuclear energy and radiotherapy for the treatment of cancer. Make sure to note her Nobel Prizes in the field of science. Experts believe that in India, preventable factors account for 70% of cancers, out of which 40% are tobacco related, and 20% infection related, and 10% are due to other factors. In India, one woman dies of cervical cancer every 8 minutes. For every 2 women newly diagnosed with breast cancer, 1 woman dies of it in India. Almost 50% of cancers are detected at late stages in India due to lack of awareness, literacy, fears, and taboos or high death rates. According to World Health Organization in 2018, cancer claimed approximate 9.6 million lives in the world, and India's share was around 8.17% cancer claiming lives. According to Lancet report about cancer, India is the second biggest killer after heart disease, which states that the use of tobacco is a risk factor for 14 types of cancer. India's cancer incidence is far lower than in developed nations, yet death rates are higher due to late detection for a myriad of reasons. It's important to raise and spread awareness about this deadly disease to save lives. For every 2 women newly diagnosed with breast cancer, 1 woman dies of it in India. This is scary statistics, and therefore, information about how to detect in its early stages is vital. Women are advised to take self-breast tests regularly at home, 7 days before and after periods. Stand in front of the mirror with your arms relaxed and look for any change in size, shape, and position of the breast. Look for skin changes, skin discoloration, and sores. Check nipples for peeling, change in direction and size, whether retracted, and whether there is any discharge. If there are any concerns, book an appointment with your doctor and get tested regularly. So, National Cancer Awareness Day is all about generating awareness about early detection and avoiding leading cancer-causing lifestyles. Lancet's report says that the use of tobacco is a risk factor for 14 types of cancer. Other causes include alcohol, drug use, and poor diet. Unsafe sex is also the main risk factor for cervical cancer and is the second most common cancer type in women. The high risk of lung cancer is also due to tobacco use and air pollution. It is important to raise awareness and inform yourself about any lifestyle changes you may need to make to help protect you and your loved ones from the cancer. So finally, today we are also commemorating National Bittersweet Chocolate with Almonds Day in US. So it's an opportunity to celebrate sumptuous combination of chocolate and almonds. Nearly 40% of all the world's almonds end up in some form of chocolate, most often a candy bar. The pairing is one of the oldest known recipes using chocolate. While National Bittersweet Chocolate and Almonds Day, held on November 7th, is sponsored by National Confectioners Association, and it is primarily an online celebration involving dark chocolate and almond lovers. So with this, we shall conclude the commemorations, and before concluding, we would just like to show as we are creating, today is commemorated a cancer prevention awareness. So tomorrow we will take it up, maybe. Okay, let me pull out this.
Good day, everyone. My name is Ra'a Amir from King Saud bin Abdulaziz University for Health Sciences, and I'm going to perform today and demonstrate how to perform breast examination. So first of all, you have to greet the patient, introduce yourself, confirm the patient ID and age, gain the consent of the patient after explaining the procedure, and you can also indicate the presence of the chaperone if needed, if you are a male student or a male doctor. After that, you will wash your hand. Okay, and then inspect the general appearance of the patient, if she looks ill, if she looks cachectic, anorexic, or any other abnormalities in the general look of the patient, if there is any IV lines or any other things. After that, you will get a close look into the breast. So you will inspect the breast, both breasts for the size and the symmetry of both of them. Then you will check for any incisional scars, sternal or under the any incisional scars under the breast. After that, you will also check for any abnormalities in the skin. You will check for any inflammatory signs. As you can see in here, you have the dimpling sign, which is mainly could be a malignant sign. You have the pida orange appearance, or the orange peel skin appearance. You check for the areola for any skin abnormality or any inflammatory changes. You can see here some nipple retraction. In the other breast, you can see in the skin, you can have some red spots in it. You see in the areola area, you can see some skin changes and some inflammatory changes. As you can see here, we have the ulceration. Then in the palpation, you can check if there is any discharge. Okay. After that, you can also indicate for the patient to do it in different positions. So putting the patient in a position, her hand beside her trunk, or putting her hands against her waist to contract the pectoralis muscle, or her hands above her head. Okay. After that, you will inspect the same thing again in different positions. After that, you will go for the palpation, doing the breast into 4 quadrants with the central area containing the areola and the nipple. You will start from the lower part, okay, in here, with 3 different pressures from the palmar surface of the 3 middle fingers. So you will start from the middle side, from the lower side, from here, okay. 6 o'clock clockwise in the superficial pressure first, okay, like this. You're checking for any lumps, okay, and then you will go for the intermediate pressure, 6 o'clock also, going clockwise, okay. You check with the deep palpation for any lumps also. And don't forget to palpate or to squeeze the nipple to check for any discharge. Okay, so in here I can find the lump. It's mainly 2 centimeters in size, irregular surface. Okay, and you check also if it is mobile or not. So I don't think it is mobile. It is more affixed to the chest wall. Okay, and we said it is firm and irregular surface. Okay, you also check the other side of the breast with the same technique, and don't forget in here, because you have inflammatory changes, you will press and check for any discharge in here. Now, if the patient tells you if there is any pain, you usually begin from the normal breast before the breast that contains the pain. Okay, and then we will go to checking, inspecting, and palpating if there is any lymphadenopathy. So after palpation, you move on to inspect for any lymphadenopathy. So you check for giving the patient a position sitting toward you. So you will check for any obvious lymphadenopathy in the supraclavicular area, infraclavicular area, and checking for any signs of lymphadenopathy in the axillary lymph nodes. Okay, so you always compare both sides, and then you go for the palpation. You palpate the supraclavicular area to check for any lymphadenopathy, infraclavicular area, okay, and then you will go for the axillary area. Don't forget to wear your gloves and wash your hands. So wearing the gloves, and then you will check and palpate the axillary area, the anterior, the posterior, and the lateral lymph nodes, and the medial. Okay, so you will support the weight of the patient's arm on your arm, so left with left, and getting your right arm into the axilla of the patient, checking for the lymphadenopathy. So you will check for the medial, anterior, posterior, and lateral lymph nodes for any signs of lymphadenopathy, which can indicate metastasis of the breast cancer. Other things you might do, You will check also the spinal processes of the patient to check for any pain, which is an indication of the bone metastasis. You will also check for and auscultate for any pleural effusion in the sides of the lungs. You also can do some abdominal examination to check for any liver enlargement or any liver nodules as a sign of metastasis too. So after you are done with your examination, you thank the patient and help them to get dressed and ask them if they have any questions or concerns they would like to ask you about. And after this, you should mention some few points about the breast lump. So if you suspect any breast lump in a patient less than 35-year-old, you should do an ultrasound. If the patient is more than 35-year-old, you can do a mammography. You can also if you suspect any lump, as we found in this examination, you can take a biopsy from the lump, doing an FNA or core biopsy to determine the histology and the stage and the grade of the breast cancer. You should also educate the patient to how to do and when to do the breast self-examination. You should also take more history and about the symptoms of the patient, if she has any neurological symptoms, any other symptoms and risk factor that may suggest breast cancer or its metastasis. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining us on this wonderful day. See you all tomorrow at the same time. Take care. Good night. Before leaving, we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form which has been raised in the Zoom platform in the form of polls. Thank you once again, everyone. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night.